Yo, what up, guys? It is Kyle Beast here. We're going to get into this NFL Week 8 recap. Um, Pretty disappointing for all Falcons fans. Shout out to my Chargers mug, though. I really don't like this new Chargers regime, but back when I was a young one, I was a big fan of the Phillip River, the Antonio Gates, LaDainian Tomlinson. I loved LT, and Vincent Jackson days, so that is why I'm drinking out of a Chargers mug. I'm not a fan. But let's get into the show a little bit. We're gonna get into the Falcons Titans recap, Rams Cowboys, Jags Steelers, Bengals Niners, Bears at Chargers, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Raiders at Lions, and then we're gonna also talk about Broncos at Chiefs. Then get into our power rankings, and then give you guys a little Thursday Night Football preview. But man, let's just talk Falcons. So I said last week, right? This is a game they absolutely should have won with a backup quarterback. Will Levis tore us apart, right? Really sucked. He looked a lot better than I thought he actually was. I thought he had one high level throw, and that was the one where he was rolling right. He had pressure in his face, and he just threw a dot to, I forget the guy's name. I think it's Phillips. He's number 15, but goddamn, it was an absolute dot. Credit to him. And they just really killed us with big plays. And when you can't shut down big plays in this league, you're usually going to lose. Disappointing to see our defense do that. Not only did we lose this game, we also lost Grady Jarrett for the rest of the season. Huge loss as well. He's definitely like the captain of our defense and probably our best defensive player, him and A.J. Terrell. He's very good in run support, very good in pass rush when he needs to be. He gets double teamed constantly, so just losing him sucks, like really hard for our defense. Let's talk about the benching of Desmond Ridder. Like, I don't even know. I'd like some Falcons fans to come on and tell me what you think, but I felt like we were finally starting to see him develop and finally starting to see him come into his own. Like, I understand there were the turnovers, but without the turnovers, he was playing so well. And to bench him and just hurt his development for these next 2 weeks is mind-boggling and extremely frustrating to me. I've honestly seen enough of Arthur Smith. For me, I'm out on Arthur Smith. Honestly, if I was Arthur Blank, I'd give him the rest of the season, and then I would say, all right, I think it's over, and we're moving on to I'm gonna go hire Eric Bieniemy. Truthfully, the Redskins OC. He was also the OC for the Chiefs. He's just off that Andy Reid block, and I'm hiring him. But I mean, even that red zone play, I know it's going viral on social media. He ran. So many people sent this to me this weekend or last weekend, but he ran a sweep to tight end number 2, for tight end number 2 to throw it to tight end number 3. Tight end number 2 being Johnny Smith, tight end number 3 being Michael Pruitt. And while tight end number 1, the highest tight end drafted in history, Kyle Pitts, was blocking for them. And while Bijan Robinson, our obviously stud 8th overall running back pick, was just a decoy, right? And it just doesn't make any sense. Like having decoys in the red zone is big, right? Like, it's true. But they should be the focal point of the decoy and the play, right? So, off the top of my head, the fact that off the top of my head I can think of a play like this really bugs me. That I don't know. I'm sure there's way more to than play calling than obviously I know. But honestly, I would have had Bijan come in motion, come across to the right side in the slot. I'd have him come back, and I would have ran a jet or a sweep, maybe like a fake sweep to Jonnu, right? And an actual sweep to Bijan, where he has the sideline, and then Pitts is running a drag in the back of the end zone that Bijan can throw him, because Bijan's that lefty, so you get him running that side. I think that would have been a home run touchdown, and the fact that I can just sit there and say that just really frustrates me that we're not doing that, and we're running dumbass fucking plays with Jonnu Smith. Who the fuck thought Jonnu Smith was actually going to get the sweep? And maybe that's where Arthur Smith is like, no one's going to actually think that. But, dude, it really grinds my gears. I've seen enough. I'm done. Especially with the benching of Desmond Ridder. He's killing his development. I understand that our ceiling and I understand our floor is probably a little higher with Taylor Heinicke, and our ceiling, as of right now, is probably a tiny bit higher as well with Heinicke at quarterback, but just to hurt his progression like that and his confidence, and Taylor Heinicke's going to rip the ball, but I don't think Taylor Heinicke's that good. Like, he's all right, and Desmond Ridder's certainly the future, so it just bugged me. And if we're not going to go out and get a quarterback, then what are we doing? Why don't we just develop the quarterback we have now, who looked really good the past couple of weeks? And just had some unfortunate turnovers, and he was playing bad in the Titans game, and I think that's where it came from. I think Arthur Smith was like, oh, I used to coach for this team. I really want to beat these guys. Taylor, I like the rhythm that Taylor had on that drive where Desmond was hurt. All right, let's go Taylor. But I know at this point for me as a Falcons fan, a diehard Falcons fan, fuck Arthur Smith. I'm done. I'm so sick of it. Let's get into the defense, though. Like I said, I'm not really sure what happened. All year we've been giving up big plays. I mean, it's been really frustrating. We need to clean it up. Losing Grady Jarrett isn't going to help anything. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I do think this was more of a fluke, though. I mean, we gave up, obviously, that DeAndre Hopkins touchdown. The first touchdown was obviously pass interference by DeAndre Hopkins. He got away with that. But I do think there were three huge plays like that. I think it's kind of a fluke, and hopefully it won't happen again, and we'll see. I'm more interested to see what continues after this with the defense rather than just being kind of out on them after 1 week, right? I did want to note one more thing that I'd like to see Arthur Smith do, and I feel like the other OCs do a lot, like Mike McDaniel or I guess that Shanahan system, or just basically anyway, is they get their playmakers into space as much as they can, and I feel like we're not getting Bijan Robinson enough touches in space. Like, why don't we try to run a little more jet sweep action with him, like we were doing earlier on? Like, we were running the RPO bubble, getting him one-on-one with a couple guys outside in space. I'm not seeing any of that creativity, and it's starting to frustrate me, and it's making me out on Arthur Smith, and I think the rest of Falcons Nation should be, truthfully. Let's get into the Titans. That's enough Falcons talk. It's just going to raise my blood pressure. Ryan Tannehill is out, right? Or what I said last week was Ryan Tannehill's being out. Will Levis is getting the start. Kind of. I guess Malik Willis is going to be used a little bit, right? Malik Willis just turned the ball over for him the once, and they went right to Will Levis. He was playing good, though, right? He played outstanding. It's only 1 week, but definitely looks like he's going to be the future quarterback for him. I think where the Falcons really lost this game and the Titans won this game was just up front on the trenches. The offensive line and D-line, they killed us all game. And I was worried about that going in, but man, they destroyed us, and they made a huge difference in this game. Congrats to them. They played good. Pretty disappointing to see if you're a Falcons fan, especially now. I've been loving seeing the progression of Ritter each week, and now that Heineke's come in, I'm excited to see what they can do. I still think we're a playoff team, but I don't know. It's just a little depressing. Lions was Atlanta 2.5. Last week I predicted Atlanta to cover that easily. They obviously didn't, so I missed that one hard, which sucks. And over-under is 35. I told you guys to bet the under. It did go over. This game ended up being 28-23 Titans? Yeah. Did end up going over. Missed on both of those. Happens. Sucks. But anyway, let's get into that Rams-Cowboys recap. Wow, the Cowboys just really flex their muscles and show them what's going on here. 43-20. It was. I know a lot of people have the same thing that went through with me. So I'm trying to get these games on. Right, I watch about 3 at a time or so, and as I'm like, okay, well, I want to get the Cowboys game on, so I'm invested in the Falcons, and I'm trying to get the Cowboys game on. By the time I got it on, it's 30-3, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to watch a different game. So I didn't get to catch a lot of it. I did watch a lot of not the highlights, but a little more of the tape and kind of see what happened. And so let's get into it. Rams. I mean, I think they're still liable offense, right, with Stafford. And as I said before the game, they just lack a lot of talent. They certainly didn't have a favorable matchup in this one with the Cowboys pass rush, their offensive line being and the Cowboys defense just being good in general, right? And just cut that. Yeah, I certainly didn't love their matchup in this one, just with the Cowboys defense in general. Like I said, I still think this is a liable offense. The defense is playing worse and worse, though, so I don't know if this is a playoff team. If Stafford gets hurt, I know he has a thumb injury. I definitely don't think this is going to end up being a playoff team. Like, if he looks different come on the Saturday or on the Sunday, I assume he's going to play. But if he starts to look different and they lose another one, they fall to 3-5 or 3-6, wherever they're at right now. That's going to be a big loss for them. They probably will fall out of the playoffs, even with the NFC being so weak. Recap on the Cowboys. Holy shit, what a game, right? Offense playing a defense who's played decent all year. The Rams defense has played good all year. They do lack a lot of talent, and they really played a good game offensively. That Dak and CD connection looked amazing. Dak in general looked really clean, right? But I mean, we've seen games like this from Dak all the time. I'm interested to see, or I want to see, and I think his fan base needs to see. Oop, is it still working? Yeah, okay, sorry, I hit my mic there. But I think Dak's fan base needs to see more consistency out of him because, I mean, he does this constantly, right? And then he also has the games where, like he had against the Cardinals, and I mean, he's throwing it right to people and losing them games and throwing turnovers in the red zone. But defensively, I mean, they looked super clean. They've been like this all year, though. Just a high-powering defense that kind of loses some juice at times, though. It can be suspect against the run. But the pass rush really showed up. The secondary helped out a lot, right? I know the secondary looked really good, but a lot of good came on Stafford not being comfortable in the pocket. I mean, this Cowboys team is dangerous, and I know, like, they didn't sack him a lot, but they had so many pressures early on in the game. And they ended up getting home a lot, later in the game. But, like, first half, they were starting to get after him a lot. He was getting uncomfortable. I'm sick of people saying, though, or not people, I guess it's Skip Bayless, calling Deron Bland a ball hawk and, like, just as good as Trayvon Diggs. There was obviously a miscommunication between Stafford and Deron Bland there, and it fell, or Stafford and Cooper Kupp, and Deron Bland just happened to be the guy in the right place, and just literally fell into his lap, literally. So, I don't know. But I think it's just funny that everyone's, Deron Bland's so good. He's been average at best all season. The line was Dallas, 6 points. I chose to say Dallas is going to cover this one easy. They did. The over-under was 45.5. This is always the hardest for me is over-under. I said I'd probably take the under in this one too just because the Rams defense had been playing good all year. The Cowboys defense had been playing bad all year. But obviously this one went quite a bit over that. I think it ended up being 60 points or so. Yeah, 43-20, so that's 63. So it was certainly over. But recapped, Dallas covered easy, right, and it went over 45.5. But let's get into that Jags-Steelers game. This was an interesting game. I watched a little bit of this. It's kind of and it was kind of good at the same time, though. Defense has had some good plays, and then offense, like both offenses have done all year, have just missed opportunities and been somewhat disappointing. But big plays for the Jags offense this year have been huge. Right? I'd like to see them have way more consistency, though, driving the ball downfield and getting more points on the board. Like, I feel like Trevor Lawrence has not been consistent in his drives. He was a little bit at the start of the year, but and then they would turn the ball over or just have really bad plays at the opponent's side of the ball. But now he's just kind of in a rut, and maybe that's because they're playing a little better defenses, but they're really getting the majority of their points off of big plays, and they really need to clean that up if they want to make a big push in the playoffs because that's what teams will start doing, and good defenses will start doing. They're going to bend, they're not going to break, they're not going to give you free points. Defense, though, they've been really good so far this season. I know they only gave up 10 points, right? But they could definitely, I think every Jags fan and everybody who's watched this team is saying they could certainly use a little more pass rush, right? They drafted Trayvon Walker first overall. I think it was a couple years ago or a year ago. He's been pretty disappointing in that aspect. I don't think he's been as bad as people think he's been. Like, I think he's actually been pretty good, but Aiden Hutchinson has obviously made an incredible more difference in him. He's the same pass rusher who came out in that draft. And that's what a lot of people said. Aiden Hutchinson is going to come out here. He's going to be good. And Trayvon Walker is going to need some coaching up and is going to need to, really develop. So we'll see. He still has time, but he's been worse than I think any of us expected, and I think he should be. I think he should definitely be making a little more splash plays and just getting after the passer a little more. It's mainly been Josh Allen for them this season, not the Bills quarterback Josh Allen. They have a pass rusher out of Kentucky, Josh Allen. He's incredible. He's been an incredible pass rusher his entire career. So big shout out to him. I don't know if he gets enough love, but he's for sure a top 10 pass rusher, probably a top 5 for sure. Let's get into the Steelers though. I feel like this team has been like one of the very few constants we've seen in the NFL. We've seen so much consistency in the NFL. Not these guys, right? The offense has been awful, and the defense has been above average. Outplaying what they have in the secondary. Their secondary is really bad, and that pass rush just makes them so much better. They've been outstanding because of that front seven at times. A lot of people close to the Steelers organization were pretty confused why they didn't try to sell some of their players before the trade deadline happening, right? Just with the team having so many holes. And I'd have to agree. I like that aspect. I think they probably should have gotten rid of some of their guys. Maybe Maybe not necessarily T.J. Watt, but maybe some guys they could have sold a little higher for. I'm not entirely sure who, but I definitely think this team isn't quite there. I mean, they're 4-3, so we'll see what happens. But I definitely like the idea of them maybe starting to sell a little bit. Ended up being, let me go see this. Jags end up covering. They're 2-point favorite, right? I did think the Jags would cover. I told you guys, and then I said I would take the over in this one. This one did go under 41. I guess I'm just horrible at over-under, and I just don't know if I can ever get it right. I think I did get these next two right, but over-under is the hardest one for me, personally. But let's, all right, Bengals at Niners. Oh, my God, this is wild. The Bengals are back. Joe Burrow is back, and this offense looked incredible. They looked so clean. I mean, you finally saw him get back to a little under-center single back action with Joe Mixon, right? Running a little play action off of it. I mean, the Bengals coming into this game had only run one play action under center coming into this game at only 4 under center plays, which is crazy. They ran 15 under center plays and 5 play action under center passes. I think 5, maybe it was 4. For any Bengals fan, I'm sure that was like so awesome to see. Just how they know how to make the adjustments like that, right? And they can adapt. You know, they're not, as a Falcons fan, I hate when you have a prideful coach that, like Arthur Smith, who, oh, no, I'm going to do this my way because we sometimes win games. And it's like, no, the Bengals are like, okay, we're struggling. What do we need to do better? They adapt, they make adjustments, and they know how to get better. It's super cool. I love to see it. And I think if you're a Bengals fan, you got to love that from your coaching staff, right? And just the organization as a whole. So good for them. They look incredible. I know the game was more competitive than it was. It was Bengals end up winning 31-17, right? The scoreboard looks like pretty bad. I mean, the Bengals got after him, though, like a little bit, definitely. They got after the defense, and Brock Purdy moved the ball downfield pretty well, but they got the turnovers they needed. I'll go into that a little now, too. But Niners, they've lost 3 straight. But like I was saying, other than the turnovers on Brock Purdy, he actually played really good. Like, he moved the ball down the field really well. He had a couple of high-level elite throws that kind of made my jaw drop, maybe jump a little bit. I'm much more worried about this 49ers defense than their offense. I think the offense is going to be fine. I talked about that last week too. I mean, they were moving the ball down the field fine, and it's really the defensive pass rush and rush defense that's been much worse these last 3 weeks. And the secondary has been suspect all year, needing help from that front seven. So with that front seven just starting to lack, certainly not a good thing, and it's not going to help them out. They did just trade for Chase Young, though, which is really cool. Only needed a third. Only gave up a third for him. I know he has had injuries, and the beauty of this is my brother let me know about this. I didn't know. If they don't even pay Chase Young, and he just goes on to sign for like 12 to 15 mil a year, they get a third-round comp. So, I mean, good for them. That's just... I'm surprised why a bunch of teams didn't do that. Like, any contender needing pass rush help, I felt like should have gave a third for Chase Young in that retrospect. Because you don't even want to bring him on. You're getting a third-round comp anyway. And so as long as you're in that latter half, you know, probably not top 80, I think you're fine. And you take that comp. But I did say, I think I said... So I thought Brock Purdy wasn't going to play. And I thought this game was going to be 21-17 Bengals. Brock Purdy did end up playing... I think I said I'd take the under on 44. It went over 44, naturally, because I can't get one of those right. And then San Francisco is a 5-point favorite. The Bengals covered. I did think the Bengals were going to cover. I think I also said, I even said when they won last week. You'd have to go back and look at it. I'm not sure. I thought the Bengals were going to cover either way. So I feel like I'm pretty good at my spreads, but man, those over-unders just kill me. All right, now let's get into Bears at Chargers. Sunday Night Football. Chargers end up winning this game 30-13. They showed out. I didn't watch a whole lot of this game. I did kind of go back and look at some of it, but I mean, Bears, they played about as bad as they have all year, right? They got killed in this one. The offense did have some plays at times. I feel like they just had so many missed opportunities. I feel like they moved the ball relatively well. They just missed opportunities and just really left points on the board and yards on the board, right? I mean, they also have a backup quarterback, though. I'm excited to see Justin Fields coming back, though, this week. And I think he comes back this week. I hope he does, because I think this Bears team can just continuously get better and better. I think it's probably time to chalk up the playoffs for them, but I definitely think they can get better and better. The Montez Sweat trade, let's talk about it. I don't know. I mean, if you liked it, I guess I understand why. I mean, he brings a lot of pass rush. They gave up a second round pick for him though, and I know he can play I know he can play all three downs. I know he can play well against the run, but the Bears have. I felt like you need to be stocking up draft picks for this Bears team. Like you are not where you want to be. You need more talent. And the second round, you can get a legit guy for cheap. I mean, and they're planning on paying Montez Sweat. I don't think. Now maybe I'm wrong. I don't think Montez Sweat is a top 10. There's a top 5 pass rusher and top 7. I'd have to go look at it, right? Obviously, but I'm not paying a premium second round pick, which is what the Bears are gonna have. They're gonna have a top 50 or top 50, top 40 pick, and I just felt like Montez Sweat wasn't worth it. I think this Bears team makes really bad trades every year. We can talk about the Chase Claypool. We can talk about the let me send Roquan Smith away and paid Tremaine Edmonds. I mean, I don't know what the front office is doing. He'll probably get fired soon, honestly. Chargers, they've been the most disappointing team in the league so far. That's what I said last week. Sorry. I mean, I'm still not sold on this Chargers team after 1 week. I mean, they dominated the team. They absolutely should have dominated with the talent they have. I'll give them credit for that, though. Ultimately, still don't like this Chargers team, and I don't see them making the playoffs in this stacked AFC. Still don't. The line was Chargers 8.5. I did say cover. I did think this was going to cover. No, the Chargers. The Chargers got after it. They definitely covered their 8.5. Or I had the Bears covering. Sorry. And then over under. I did say to bet the under on this one. It did go under 46, which is cool to see, even with them putting up 30. That's why I said I thought 46 was way too high for both of these offenses. And I even said, I was like, even if one of these teams does go off, it could be a blowout. So 30-13 ends up being 46, under 46. It's nice to actually hit one of those, which makes me feel good. Let's get into Monday Night Football, though. We had Raiders at Lions. I loved what I saw from this Lions team, right? I mean, they had a really tough week last week, and they looked really good. Jared Goff looked mid, though, right? He looked and for them to be a contender, he's going to play more consistent. He's going to stop leaving yards on the field. He's got to get that turnovers out of it. Other than that pick six, I mean, the Lions absolutely dominate this game, but he threw one right to Marcus Peters. I think he was trying to throw it out of bounds, but it went literally right to Marcus Peters, and it made this game a lot closer than it seemed. And if the Raiders just could have maybe hit on a couple of their opportunities, they could have lost this game just because of that one play, which is the NFL, right? It's a one-play league. But man, I think everyone is super pumped to finally see Jahmyr Gibbs get going. I mean, I've been tweeting about it. I've been begging for Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, you take him 12th overall, and he hasn't done a whole lot. His production hasn't been there, and he's looked special at so many times throughout the season. So to see him do it on Monday night with the majority of the carries, and he had got so many receptions, was just so cool and so justifying. I was like, finally, Jahmyr Gibbs, let's go. He looked so good. He looks special. I know David Montgomery is a good back, but when Jahmyr Gibbs gets the ball, even in between the tackles, they only use him outside of the tackles, but even in between the tackles, he looks so special. He is legit. And defensively, I really like this team, right? I mean, the Lions, pass rush has been good. Secondary flies around. I just wish they didn't have so many injuries so we could see it at full force, right? I mean, Brian Branch, their safety, and CJG is out for the season. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Brian Branch, I think, is coming back, but they do have two other good safeties, Tracy Walker and Kirby Joseph to help out there, which is really nice. Brian Branch plays in the slot. I mean, Cam Sutton, by the way, their best corner, he's playing like an elite corner. I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves, so I wanted to give out a quick shout-out to him. Raiders, though, I mean, like they've done all year, they just had missed opportunities. Looked really poor on both sides of the ball. Jimmy G missed Devontae Adams on 2 touchdowns. I think one of them was like a 98-yard potential touchdown. I mean, without the pick six, like I said, the Raiders got absolutely dominated, and fantasy owners were probably just freaking out because, I mean, I understand. I went back and looked at that miss that he had on like the 98-yard touchdown where Devontae Smith is wide open. It was a potential touchdown, but I mean, he was backed up in his own end zone. There was pressure in his face. People miss that all the time. I mean, you probably lay a little bit off that when he's that wide open, and just, I mean, you don't need the touchdown. You just want like the 40 yards. But then he had the other one. I think it was like on like at the 15 or at the 6. It was somewhere in the red zone. Had him wide open. Big miss. Aiden O'Connell's getting the start this week, and I actually think it's going to be better for for fantasy purposes. I think Devontae Adams is going to be a little better. And Josh Jacobs, I think, is going to start being insane with Aiden O'Connell is checking the ball down to him. The only game we saw, I think Jacobs had 11 targets, which is wild. So that's going to go. But Lions, I said Lions were an 8-point favorite. I did say they would cover. I thought the Lions covered. And it was the over-under was 46. I thought this was way too high. Ends up being 27-10. I did say go the under. So I hit both on those. I think that's the first time I've hit on both of those all season, which is nice. Excuse me, sorry, which is nice to see. But let's get into Broncos at Chiefs recap. Broncos they get a huge win for them, 24-9, right? I mean, what was really funny is they won this game and acted like they just won the Super Bowl. I mean, I know it was a huge win, but it's 1 week, right? I'd like if you can string a couple wins together and then you maybe beat the Chiefs, like, okay, then maybe act like you guys are back. But the defense, I mean, good for them. They're starting to play a lot like last year's defense, which is really good. The offense has been like decent all season, so I do think there's a lot of upside for this Broncos fan base, right? I think they can be good. I mean, I'd have to go look at their record. They have a bye this week. I think they're 3-5. I'm not gonna be able to find it. God damn it. Let me see if I can find this really quick. Broncos. Where you at? Holy shit, I can't find them. Alright, there we go. They are 3-5. Yeah, they're 3-5. I mean, could they they're in a pretty bad division. I mean, what, they got the Bills coming up. I think they have a bye week and they have the Bills this week. What the heck? No, they're on bye. Doesn't show their bye. Okay, that's okay. But they play the Bills after the bye week. I mean, they could get better. I don't think they're going to beat the Bills. If they beat the Bills, that's pretty cool. I mean, Kirk Cousins just got hurt, so they have the Vikings. They could probably win that. They probably play a Browns team that they could probably win. I mean, they have a bunch of winnable games. They could run the table and make the playoffs. I mean, they're obviously not going to win out, but they could go in and make the playoffs. I do think there's a lot of upside for this fan base. But Chiefs, I mean, losses happen in the NFL, especially division losses, right? I mean, Mahomes had the flu, I guess, and it was so cold. Like, I had the flu this weekend, and I would just get so cold, and I would just want to go. So I can't even imagine what he was going through, right? I mean, they still have one of the best QBs in the league with an amazing coach and an incredible defense to go with it. So I don't think anybody's going to put a whole lot on this loss. It's a division game. It happens. Let's get into conference power rankings, though. This is what we got. I'm going to try and show you guys real quick. Here we go. Here it is. Hopefully you can see this. I don't know. Hopefully it's not that bad. But we got Eagles. Eagles remain at number 1. Cowboys jump up to that number 2 spot. The reason I put the Lions ahead of the 49ers here is because I think if you take away that Lions-Ravens game, I mean, Lions are a really good team. They're dominating teams they should be. And the Niners have now lost 3 straight, so I feel like you had to notch them down a couple points, even though they've been playing good football. Seahawks are at the 5 spot, and then the Saints jump up from off the board all the way to the 6th spot with the Falcons losing, and the Saints offense finally starting to look a little clean, right? Their defense has been pretty good all year. Falcons drop down to that 7th spot. I was going to throw the Vikings ahead of the Falcons, so I don't think I'm biased there, but Kirk Cousins got hurt, so I just put the Vikings at the same because, I mean, who really knows? And Jaron Hall's not going to do what Kirk Cousins is going to do, obviously, or Josh Dobbs, who they just traded for. The Rams go down to 9. They've lost 2 straight now. Offense is looking weak, and the defense is starting to look worse and worse. Commanders, I have them staying at 10. But in the AFC didn't change a lot in this top 3, right? Chiefs stay, Ravens stay, Dolphins stay. Bengals come up to 2. Jags are at -1. They go down to 5 just because, I mean, they've had struggles. I just haven't seen them put it all together yet. Now, you take away that Ravens game for the Lions, they haven't put it all together yet either. But at least they did have that one game. So I'm just kind of remaining where they're at. Maybe they drop down to 3. A lot will probably show in the next couple weeks, obviously, with the season starting to ramp up. But then Bills come up to 6. Browns drop a couple points. They go 7. I got the Jets going up 1 spot at 8. Steelers dropping down 1 spot to 9. Chargers coming up off the board, into the board at 10. And I did want to give an honorary mention to the Titans just for how they played last night. I thought they played like a pretty solid football team, so good for them. But that's what I got for you. We are going to get into this Thursday night football preview, probably as you saw on the screen. And we got Titans and Steelers, right? I mean, this is a pick'em game for me, obviously. I think the odds makers have it by 2.5, a little more Steelers. I definitely think this is more of a They're probably going Steelers 2.5 just because, I mean, even with Will Levis's great debut, right? It's still only a second game, and it is in Pittsburgh. So, and they have the good defense, the good front seven. Will Levis really struggled against pressure last week. I know he only have the one game to go off of it, but Mike Tomlin's probably going to dial up some pressure, and I mean, he's cut. I mean, Mike Tomlin is probably going to dial up a little more pressure, and they just have a much better pass rush than us Falcons do. So I do think they're going to get after him a little more. That's why it's probably 2.5 by the Steelers, and I want to lean Titans based off what I saw last Sunday, right? Because I do think their defense can get after this Steelers offense. But like I said, I think Mike Tomlin's going to make it hard for him. I'm leaning Steelers in this one, 17-13. I do think this is going to be an incredible defensive game, though, just because I think both defensive fronts are pretty good. They've been playing really good. And it's two young quarterbacks with average or bad O-line in Kenny Pickett's case. So I'm going Steelers, 17-13. I got Pittsburgh covering that 2.5 and the over-under being 36.5. I'm taking the under. We'll see how it goes, though. But that is going to be it for the show today. If you did like the video, do please, baby, just hit a like and subscribe. It takes about 2 seconds and helps me out a ton. But hey, appreciate you guys watching, and let's get an awesome. I do have a we have a lot of good games coming up next week. Let me go show you them really quick. Shoot. Where are we at? Here we go. So we got in Germany, Dolphins at Chiefs, kind of. It's in Germany, right? And then we got Seahawks at Ravens. That's going to be a great game. Cowboys at Eagles. Huge game for both teams. It's in Philadelphia. It's scary. Bills at Bengals. Then Monday Night Football. Chargers at Jets. So we have a bunch of good games coming up next week. We're probably going to come out with that video, that preview on them all. I don't know. We'll see. Probably sometime Saturday morning, maybe Friday night. We'll see how it goes. But hey, thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you guys in a couple days.